Today, I would like to welcome Pamela Slim from Escape from Cubicle Nation. And welcome, Pam.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
That's great. That's great. Let's start off with the basics. Tell us what your role is at Escape from Cubicle Nation.
Well, I have been self-employed for about the last 16 years, and the first 10 were working inside corporations, trying to make them more happy, healthy places to work. And about 6 years ago, I talked to so many people who were disgruntled that I decided to start a new track, which was Escape from Cubicle Nation, to help corporate employees formulate very specific business plans to leave and start their own business. So I write on the topic, I speak on the topic, and I also really talk in my emerging body of work about the new world of work and how we make sense when there's no more stability.
Interesting. Well, it's a very relevant topic today. I mean, just forget about perhaps boredom in the cubicle. There's sometimes an increasing necessity due to layoffs to go and find your own way. Is that not right? So
it really is true.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about some of your products and services. First of all, I have to say I love the company slogan, from corporate prisoner to thriving entrepreneur. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your products and services? One thing I was interested in seeing was the free monthly Q&A call. And I would like to know what kinds of questions do you answer and what's your key objective in offering these free calls?
Yeah, well, let's start with a free call. When you think about it, I've had my blog since 2005, and I write on all kinds of topics about what people need to consider when leaving their corporate job to start a business building techniques, you name it, legal corporate structures. And so I have many, many blog readers who are interested in getting some coaching. Not everybody can afford it. Not everybody knows, likes, and trusts me, which we know is the basis of, a great relationship with your market. If they just stumbled across my blog, they may not really know, am I for real? Do I offer good advice? And I also got hundreds of emails a month with people asking specific questions that were just impossible for me to answer because there were too many. So I put the monthly call in place as a place where I can direct people if they want free advice. The questions are all over the map. So it's everything from how do I tell my husband that I want to leave this stable, corporate employment because it may cause a rift in the relationship, to what's the best kind of marketing strategy for my new consulting business. And that's part of what makes the calls really fun, is that the questions go completely across the board. And what I found is it's great to be a community resource where people can count on the free calls the first Wednesday of every month. Once they become connected very frequently, then people end up enrolling in some of my online courses, or they hire me as a coach, or they come to retreats that I offer.
Okay.
And that's really the focus of it.
Is it basically like a conference call then? Where you
it's a conference call. People call in, and I just can selectively unmute people so that they can ask particular questions, or they can also send them in via text. Okay. And I just answer as many calls as I can, many questions as I can in an hour.
Interesting. Wow, that's really interesting. Maybe you should go out for your own radio show too. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Now, you also offer online courses and teleclasses. Tell us about, because you have some different categories for each of these, and can you tell us about the products and the categories, and also tell us the distinction between an online course and a teleclass. Is a teleclass what you were just talking about?
Yeah, I think of something like a teleclass where there is a live delivery component, so that, for example, many of the products now, which I call a digital course, which is basically, it includes audio, it includes handouts, often includes video, and it can be something that people can purchase and access at any time that does not require my own live delivery or feedback on the class. Frequently what I do, an example is a course I have called Ethical Selling That Works. It's a class that I originally taught as a teleclass, so I had 4 hour-long segments that I delivered over the course of a month, and people would call in to, the conference call service. I deliver the content, which was recorded, along with handouts that they got as part of the class. once I finished, then I did actually a re-recording and a cleaning up of the audio so that it was great just for people who wanted it self-study. And then I packaged that as a standalone digital course so that people could just access it. It didn't involve me actually doing the live delivery and answering questions of people on the call. So that's really the distinction that I make. And I have, for my audience, there often are very specific skills and competencies that they need to develop. So ethical selling that works is one. Power teaching is another, where I teach people how to design and deliver very effective courses, either online or in person, because I have a huge background in training and development. That's probably a very popular course. Mm-hmm. And then I have things like Power Boost Marketing, which is actually a year-long program that combines webinars, a monthly webinar on a specific marketing topic where people learn a particular marketing strategy. And then I have follow-up coaching. I have a live forum where they take that content, and I say they take it to the streets. They bring it into reality. They test it. They try it. They get feedback, and I'm actually coaching people throughout the course of a year. And then we're going to culminate in October of this year with a live event here in Phoenix, Arizona. So that's a much more intensive combination of doing group coaching, but also delivering content in a virtual format.
Oh, okay. So all right. So that's it. It's virtual. When you take it to the street, is it something that you offer basically the all the tools and technology for them to be able to test out for their online course, for instance, or do you partner with somebody that enables you to connect the student and the technology provider together? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I often recommend resources. Everybody is a little bit different, so it depends on people's market. Some people are working with folks who are very tech savvy, where everything they want to deliver is through mobile technology. Other people have a market that may not be as comfortable with technology. So what I like to do is to recommend tools that I have used and that have worked. A lot of what actually helps people to take action. Let's say, for example, I was just teaching this month about how to create a really strong offer and create a sales page that impels people to buy. And in that case, part of what I like to do as a coach is to hold them accountable for actually getting the page up, to share it with their peers. I give feedback on a coaching call. And whereas not everybody is using the same technology, they know they need to get it done and they need to create something that they're going to share with other folks.
Okay. I like that. All right. Good deal. Do you often take information that you get in terms of either from your online courses or your teleclasses or even your blog, and are you able to use that to create other products? For instance, you have a book out, Escape from Cubicle Nation. Was some of the content from that, were you able to kind of repurpose the results of your other services and put them in the book?
I did. Actually, my blog was really what attracted the book deal. So Penguin Portfolio contacted me a couple of years after I started my blog and said, "We love what you write. Would you consider doing a book?" And when I wrote the book, I did pull from content from blog posts. I also created a lot of new work, and it requires some editing in order to have it hang together as a cohesive story.
Yes, right.
But that is often a strategy that I use and I recommend to others. The first time that you do something like writing a post or doing a podcast, if you can repurpose it and repackage it, that's fantastic.
Yep. Content is king, right? I'm hearing content is king and collaboration is king, and those are the hot buzz phrases these days. So
yes.
All right. Now, I imagine that databases are at the heart of your marketing efforts as a business person, and I'd like to ask you a few questions about how you use your CRM product for database marketing, from capturing leads to following up and building customer loyalty. As I understand, you use Infusionsoft, as we do at Razor Media. When did you first start using it?
I started with Infusionsoft, I think it was last year.
Okay. All right. And can you tell us about your approach to your customer relationship management or database marketing, and which features of a database marketing tool or CRM product do you find most accommodating to your specific business needs?
Well, there's actually a whole number of them. And I think a core piece is actually in my newsletter. I've been writing my newsletter for the last 8 years. And I started earlier in my business with having 2 separate systems, a shopping cart and a product that used the newsletter delivery. Now, when I have that as a core thing that my market is really used to, I talk about products and services in there, a link that I might include about an upcoming program. I can go in and analyze it and track it to see how many people of whom I sent that message to actually clicked on that link. And then you can automatically tag it. So you can do a follow-up saying, I noticed you clicked on the link to the Liftoff retreat or to Power Boost Marketing. I'd love to follow up and offer you some more information. And so having that data, being able to automatically tag people's behavior where you can see what they're interested in, I think makes things a lot more personal. Mm-hmm. On the digital product side, if I do have something like somebody who purchases one of my classes, I like being able to set up some follow-up sequences where I can get them additional information and resources, and then down the road, I can also let them know what would be the next logical step. So I see that you enjoyed ethical selling that works. Here are some tips for really, amping up your selling. Mm-hmm. And if you're ready for doing some much more intensive business design, you might be interested in the Liftoff retreat I have coming up. So nice. When you're able to really automatically program some of that and think intelligently about how your programs work together, it means that you don't have to be worrying about remembering, who to follow up with or sending a whole bunch of broadcast messages, which I think that's one of the reasons why I shipped to Infusionsoft, is just because I knew that it was just too many moving parts for me to manage myself.
Right. I would imagine that mapping process of all the triggers that kind of follow your business process is a very intensive process. It requires a lot of concentration and so forth. How often do you go back and tweak what you have going on within CRM or your database marketing based on analytics or the changes within your business model?
I'm actually still in the process of really setting up the intelligent design. The first step for us was doing a huge integration of the past systems, and that took a while to clean the information. We now have clean follow-ups for all the products that we have, but that definitely is what we have. I have a web team that works with me to develop the web products and also do design on my site. And then I have an administrative team that works on the inside. So that is what we have on the agenda. Every quarter, we really look at our analytics and see what's going on, but that is the main focus that I have for this year. And I agree with you. In order to keep it relevant, you have to keep looking and noticing what people are paying attention to. As I'm moving into new areas of business, doing a lot more speaking, which is a little bit different than people who might be used to finding me on my blog, that's where I'm going to be making some changes. But once a quarter, we like to really dig in, see what's going on, and we're going to have a big strategy this summer of really doing a kind of a cleanup and an overhaul to make sure things are linked really well.
Okay. All right. Interesting. How do you go about building your database, starting from lead capture and then on throughout your marketing process? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm. A big pull is my blog, because a lot of people visit. So we've specifically designed the homepage of Escape from Cubicle Nation to attract people to sign up to subscribe, with the place in which we have put the email sign up. And actually offering the free call converts a lot better than just people signing up for the newsletter list. So that's been another really great driver of just offering something for free to people as a way to get them in Infusionsoft. I think another feature which I'm really excited about implementing is where you can capture people's information when you're doing a live talk by having them text to a certain number. You can set that up to work within the system. So I can be delivering a talk and say, if you want, an ebook, I prepared some follow-up materials for you. Whip out your cell phones and text to this number, and immediately people can get access. And of course, then I can get that connection with them. Whereas you think about, to me, that's revolutionary. If you have 500 people in an audience, before maybe you get 50 business cards if you were lucky, versus today when everybody has a cell phone. And I think that's a really, really efficient way of looking at it. So I try to mention it every time I give a webinar. I do tons of interviews. I try to make it easy for people to subscribe. on my newsletter list. And then when people actually purchase services or programs, I also build that in to make sure that they remember to subscribe as well. A lot of people forget that. People can buy something from you, and if you don't set it up to be automatic, your own clients may not be subscribed to your newsletter.
Wow. Yeah, that's important. Do you do, obviously you brought up the fact that people have their smartphones, that their phones with them at all time. Do you do anything else to take advantage of the mobile media as it exists today in terms of apps, advertising, as we're calling it, or anything else of that nature?
Not yet, but I can't wait. I'm going to South by Southwest in Austin in March, and that's usually a place where I go. I have so many friends there that are really smart in that technology, and it's just been a matter of priority, right? That definitely is an area I know I want to get into. I have a big market and a big connection and strategic focus with young entrepreneurs, and I know that that's hugely important for that demographic.
Oh, yes, indeed. Interesting. Well, I'm sure you'll go gangbusters on that as well. I'm sure, in fact, I saw on your website that you obviously have your Facebook page, and you do Twitter. Can you talk a little bit about how those integrate into CRM and anything else that you might do on the social media front?
Yeah, I'm actually very active. Believe it or not, I'm one of the top 100 women on Twitter. I have a huge Twitter following. I'm very active there, and it's fantastic for my audience. That tends to be people that are either tweeting while they're bored at work, but they're interested in technology, they're interested in entrepreneurship. A lot of people in my space are in Twitter, and that's where I connect with people. I share information. I certainly share blog posts, which will drive people back to my site. There's not always a direct link with getting them immediately, on my newsletter list, but I see it as a way to really get known, connect people with each other. That's really, really helped to get my brand and my message out there. I love social media, very active on Facebook and Twitter. And I think that's one of the ways that my message spreads really, really well.
Okay, great. And now just for the final question, I'd like to invite you to wax philosophical a little bit for us. And just tell us a little bit more about people breaking out of the Cubicle Nation, as you call it, and what's the state of technology and the internet and all the media options today, what they do to present this as a viable alternative for people. There you have it.
It's changed everything. And even in my own story, when I started my blog 6 years ago, I had been a corporate consultant, a very successful one, but all of my business was done via word of mouth, and all of my business was done at the client sites. And when I actually moved here to Arizona from the Bay Area, where I'm from, I wanted to start a family. We started having kids, and I knew that I didn't want to be on the road. And I didn't even know what a blog was at that time. I had no idea, even though I knew thousands of people from my former clients who were unhappy in their job. It was unethical in order for me to contact corporations who had formerly paid me to retain their employees to try to get them to leave. That didn't feel ethical. So by starting a blog, by utilizing social media, Twitter wasn't even around when I started, it meant that I have been able to develop a huge following. All my clients are all over the world using Skype. I coach clients in China and India and anywhere you can imagine. And it also, I think, for people that are considering going out and starting their business, allows them to work on what I affectionately call their side hustle, where they can quickly set up some kind of a service using online payment, things like PayPal to start. They can begin to work a little bit on a side business that they can do in evening hours or on the weekends that doesn't directly conflict with their corporate job. Also, by use of blogs and social media, people can really build an awareness about who they are and what they care about and their expertise, which even if you're not going on the entrepreneur track, is proven to be invaluable for finding work, for having people find you and want to hire you. And so I am quite passionate about how important it is to begin to establish an online presence. And I would say to have an idea at least, or a way that you could make a little bit money in your side hustle, even if you know your long-term strategy is to be an employee. I've sat in far too many conference rooms and watched the really awful look on people's faces when they were let go, when they were totally unaware. And it's just heart-wrenching. And if that happens to you unexpectedly, which it does more and more now, if at least you know, this is a thing that I can do. I have my basic website set up. I know how to charge people, and I can bring a little bit of money in to provide for my family. I think that's a huge safety net. For other people, it's an entry point into creating an amazing, thriving business. And that's certainly been the case for me.
And if it's not necessarily resulting in a side business, would you say there is also a value in taking those same steps toward establishing and maintaining a personal brand?
Absolutely, positively. I mean, that is the way that people hire. When you have, the first thing now that recruiters do is they go on Google and they Google your name. And when you have examples of what it is that you've done, what it is that you've created, they go to your social profiles, you seem positive, you're engaged, you're sharing good information. I think that really, really stands out. So I realize that it's not comfortable for everybody, but at a minimum today, I think that everybody needs to get a great LinkedIn profile and at least have some kind of a strong case for themselves on the personal brand side.
Okay. All right. Well, that's terrific. I think you've offered our audience a great background in terms of not only what you do, but and how you use CRM and database marketing for your own business, but also just in terms of your own business and the services you offer. You've given a lot of good information and tips and philosophical direction.